right, y'all, I could not take it anymore. I absolutely had to jump on here and give my little 2 cents on the Dear Future Wifey 5-year anniversary. I will not be getting on camera with you all today. I will at some point, but let's chat. We need to chat. We need to have a discussion because everyone on stage, well, at least David Banner and John Gray were just bleeding on everyone. Like, Laterra seemed like he lost control of the direction of that particular set. All right, give me a minute because we're going to start from the top. Hey guys, thanks for joining in with me today at It's Really Lit. I am Dia, the host of It's Really Lit, where the conversations are heated and the topics are hot. I really wanted to get into this Dear Future Wifey 5-year anniversary episode, which I feel like Laterra's had great intentions for, but definitely let's talk about what we have witnessed. Okay, guys, so I feel like I was left with much to be desired because I don't think that I got a lot of depth from the other panelists who were there. David Banner and John Gray gave the most because they have the biggest personalities. And I'll just do a high level of the other one. So I'm going to start off with Tiara, who was the former stripper. I do love her testimony. She seems like my kind of girl. She said she was a PK turned stripper to now an evangelist, woman of God. I like her.
At one point in my life, I was the #1 stripper in the country.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got there.
I think maybe back in 2022, she was doing Bible study / pole classes. Like, it was like a combo class. I felt like it was odd considering the type, but hey, God can find people in some unlikely places, so I'm not mad at it. And I think that was just part of her transitioning out before finally just doing away with her pole dancing studio. I do think that she has a lot to offer. I am a little upset that we didn't hear more from Tiara, being that she has such a powerful testimony, and we didn't really get to talk about that. We didn't get to talk about her single journey. I think that it was much to be desired, and I don't think it was the panelist's fault, so to speak. I just think it was just the direction of the show. The next person that was introduced was David Banner.
Y'all can do better than that. Come on. I just won't accept no less as far as I'm traveling.
Y'all, David Banner is almost insufferable. I lie to you not. The quick notes that I have just for his introduction is I don't think David Banner is saved, like, at all. I think his fruit is suspicious. I think that David believes in God. I think he probably was raised up under Christianity, being from the South. But he seems to have a mixture now at this point in his life. He mentioned other religious literature like the Quran and the Torah. And I think that means he just kind of pulls from everywhere. He gets his inspiration from any place. And I don't think that Laterra did a great job with vetting the people for this particular episode. Maybe he didn't vet them. Maybe it was his team, and he entrusted his team with putting a list of panelists together. So next up, who was introduced was Aventer Gray, Pastor Aventer Gray. I will say, I made note of how she introduced herself compared to how her husband introduced himself. I think it speaks volumes.
I am
a wife, a mother of two, now as of April 3rd, a tween and a teen. I'm excited about that.
Believe it or not, I used to watch The Grays. I really liked them back in maybe like 2016, 17. Kind of fell off from watching them, but I absolutely used to watch their weekly sermons when they had Relentless Church. I also visited Relentless Church once. It was a really good time. I would say I've always admired Aventer. She's a fashionista. She has superior taste, if you ask me. She introduced herself with her accolades and as a mom, wife. And of course, John was introduced next.
My name is John. I'm not a pastor. I'm not none of that. I'm just a son from Cincinnati of a woman who believed in a man named John Gray Jr., who had the power to choose the right woman but didn't have the tools to keep the right woman. And that got passed down to me because I had the perspicacity to choose the right woman, but had not been given the tools to keep the right woman, and I almost lost her.
John shows up as an insecure man in several ways in his introduction. He listed himself in this order: a son, father, and a husband.
I'm a son, I'm a father, and I'm a husband to an unbelievable gift who is everything that I needed and didn't know. When I married her, she was 3 sizes too big. What I mean by that is when you are a parent, you buy clothes for where your child is going, not where they are.
He is a mama's boy. It's evident. I'm sure it gets on his wife's nerves. I'm not going to speak too much on that. I'm actually going to tread lightly because I am careful about speaking on people's marriages. But this is what I've observed over time and what I've concluded. So I do wish that he would stop telling us how much he doesn't deserve his wife. I think that is to be determined every time he speaks about her. I think his introduction was heavy. He tells us he's broken. I feel like if you're a pastor and you're broken, why not take a break and let God heal you? Because if you're a traumatized person and you're still operating through and trauma, how can you really be of any assistance to others? I think with him identifying as broken means that he's showing up as a mess to his wife, his children, and his family. I will say that John was hurt by his abusers and he was coddled by his mom. I think that's a bad combination, but he did say he's in therapy, so I will give him grace. Let's keep going. Next up, who was introduced was Arian. I think I like her. I think I like her, but of course, again, she was one of the ones who didn't give a whole lot. She left me with more to be desired. And I don't think that was any fault of her own. I just think it was the flow of the show. At one point, Lateris asked her if she wanted to get married, and this is what she said.
Oh, because I believe in God's purpose for marriage, and I believe in his assignment for it, and I believe that it is a way to carry out his work in the earth.
Go ahead and clap for that. Clap for that.
Y'all, I'm not even going to front. I felt some type of way that the audience didn't give this lady no love on her response. I thought that was a really well-crafted response, and it made a lot of sense because you should be spending your marriage in purpose rather than praying for God to heal it. You're supposed to be with your purpose partner, not that you won't go through things, but a lot of people waste a lot of time at the altar every Sunday. Pastor, please pray for my husband or wife. We didn't really get to get more into who she was. Aside from that, I think she's a cute girl, however, so we're just going to keep it moving, all right? The next person that was there who was introduced was Ricky Applewhite. He is a divorcee in a promising relationship. He didn't say anything outstanding or profound. He did say that he was an intercessor. He also mentioned Matt Miles and Charlotte. Shout out to Matt Miles. Very, very familiar with that. I don't want to come off as judgmental or anything. He said his current girlfriend approached him at Matt Miles and was like, "You sexy." I'm a traditional girly. I don't think that women should really approach men with those words, so to speak, or to phrase it that way. I don't think that women should really pursue at all, but hey, whatever. You know, that's my personal opinion. If you feel differently, please be sure to drop down in the comments and let me know. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to make one last statement. He speaks Churchanese fluently. It made my antennas perk up a little bit, but we're going to keep it moving. Next up with the Smiths. KJ, the wife, who's on Sisters, I said she has an amazing personality. She is very animated. She's down to earth. And I do wish that they had more talk time. I do wish that the panel as a whole interacted with each other a little more. I will say that the Smiths, KJ and her husband Sky, I love how they lean into each other. I feel like they're healthy. They seem like a cohesive unit. I say that Sky, the husband, he comes off as a thinker, and he seems very intentional about what he says before he says it. I'm very impressed with them. I wish that we had more of them. Some people just took advantage of the microphone. David, I'm talking about David. I think he took advantage of the microphone.
But I do want to say something before I start that it sort of upsets me a little bit, and I want to start with this. I'm not playing when it comes to my admiration for the black woman. I have taken this so-called power that people have given me by saying that I'm cute.
Okay, say what? I'm not following him, honestly. He's talking about he's cute. Like, I'm convinced that David Banner lives in his own universe, population 1, and he went off track so many times it was really irritating. David Banner took over the stage in the worst way, and he took advantage of the opportunity to talk about himself over and over again. This man is a narcissist. Yeah. I believe I had mentioned earlier that I think David Banner is religiously confused. And to me, that was concerning because this is a Christian platform and he's all over the place.
The minister Louis Farrakhan told me one time, he brought me up to his house. I'm talking about the real house, not the house in Chicago. And I thought he was trying to convert me to being a Muslim. And he said, I don't want you to be a Muslim. He said, because if you're a Muslim, then you have to take my enemies too. He said, I just want to give you guidance and help you. He said, because the fact that nobody knows what you believe in, everybody will come talk to you.
I just want to know, why was he chosen to be on this particular panel? It does not seem to be a good fit. And not one single person challenged this man while on stage. I think it would have made it a lot more interesting, but this is what we got.
When I was 10 years old, I walked in the house. I was a really happy child. And my dad looked at me. My dad said, what you smiling for? And I said, huh? He said, I paid all the bills and I am not happy. So what you smiling for? And I don't think I smiled again until I was 21. But, let me say this. All the qualities that you all like about me, they came from my father.
I want to be very clear. I am sympathetic to what this man has gone through. I just don't think this was the right place or time. Are you following me? I hope so. Also, I just really want to ask, who is he talking to about all of the qualities you like in me? I just want somebody answer that for me. That's all I really got for David right now. He really got on my nerves. Just being transparent. We about to go back to the Grays because they gave a whole lot to him. The Grays did a lot of defending their marriage. And I feel like if you didn't care as much as you say you don't care, then you wouldn't be rehearsing these same lines over and over again. You got Aventer talking about her suit is able.
Like Genesis 2:18 says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, and will make a helper suitable. So my suit is able. I'm the only one who could look beyond whatever the perceived actions were and see that my husband was not malicious, that he had been deeply traumatized. He had been beaten down to the ground and he had fear all around him, even though he was anointed.
I hate to be so critical, but it really sounds like Aventer has been fully trained to act as his mother and his wife at this point. Also, I don't believe in speaking for people, even if it is your husband, because, take a look at this.
Picturing how to drive off a bridge to make it look like an accident so your wife can get the insurance money so at least she can start over with somebody that'll love her for real.
John Gray is miserable in his marriage. That is why he cheated. There's nothing else to say. And him phrasing it that way is childlike in itself, because it's almost like you're throwing a tantrum because you got caught doing something that you weren't supposed to do. Look, let's keep going.
I was angry at God. I said, God, there's some dudes out here with whole families. And y'all love them. Whole families.
John Gray has a real accountability issue, because first and foremost, how are you going to question God about when and how he's going to expose somebody else for infidelity in their marriage? Be very clear. God isn't covering anybody who's in infidelity. I don't know what world this man lived in, but this is the product of someone who's been babied all of their life. And you feel like someone should always be there to nurse your wounds, even if it's self-inflicted. Grow up. While speaking, John compares himself to King David. And then he complains about not having a support system while he's going through it. He's mad that he didn't have anyone to enable him and tell him how to properly cheat, unfortunately, is what it sounds like to me. John sounds more upset that he got caught than the fact that he actually did it. I'm gonna let y'all simmer on that.
And I don't care what anybody says, David was a warrior. He was a worshiper. He was a tactician. He was a terrible husband and a terrible father. And the Bible says he was a man after God's own heart. And what I find really striking is that you can have years of good fruit, and then your humanity shows up and everybody wants to throw you away. And the truth is, if I ever start talking about what I know, about your favorites, you won't have any place to go. The reason why you know about whatever I walk through is because I ain't paying nobody to be quiet for nothing. If I did it, you can tell the whole world. But some of your favorites make theirs sign NDAs.
And like I said, he's just mad that he got caught. And that's the end of it. The way people were hooting and hollering for his so-called testimony, but were silent on some pretty important pieces and real testimonies that were on the stage, speaks volumes. Some people will amen and hallelujah anything, even if it's the devil himself. Let's move on. Something else I wanted to mention, John starts to chastise the public for reading news headlines or pop culture news. But sir, you are a public figure. What do you expect? Watch this.
And all you see is headlines from your favorite blogger, but then you in church waving your hands, but you just took in poison from about a broken man or a broken woman. And the only reason they have an audience and a financial platform is because y'all go to them.
Teach.
And the reason why you can't clap is because you subscribe to them.
Like I said, he's just angry that he got caught and no one's giving him any slack for it. And he shouldn't. He's a manipulator. All of that we've seen on stage, those fake tears, the theatrics, he's a manipulator. He literally said he was willing to take his life because of that incident. If that's not manipulation, I don't know what is. That's no different than a significant other who says, oh, I'm going to unalive, you know, I can't say it on YouTube, they're going to unalive themselves if the person leaves. This is the equivalent of that. And it's really disgusting. I really wasn't even trying to come on here to bash these people at all. But watching it over and over, you pick up more things. So, as they're wrapping up and John is thanking everyone on stage, his church hosted this event. And he was saying what was put on his spirit. Well, of course, David Banner, not one to be outdone. Yeah, watch this.
I also want to say, and this was laid on my spirit, is y'all have to do better with protecting us even when we're wrong. Hold on. When you watch those pictures of lynchings, Look at all the black people who are standing around watching that happen.
Y'all, David Banner has to be stopped. He absolutely has to be stopped. At this point, I don't even know if he believes anything that he says. I don't know whose heartstrings he was pulling at. I don't know who's buying into anything that he said the entire time. It's really a shame. I wouldn't trust anything that comes from David Banner's spirit. I would not trust anything that comes from his spirit. All right, that's all I got for y'all. I really don't have no more. It was what it was. It gave what it gave. I just wanted to talk about it because I thought it was a little foolish. So, yeah, please, if you want to, fall off in my comments. Give some love to my like button and subscribe button if you want to hear more from moi. And if you'd like and you want me to talk about or review something, go ahead and send it to the email in my bio. All right, y'all, that is it for It's Really Lit.